Good afternoon, guys. This is Leonard Sannikov, and today I'm going to talk about three topics of blockchain. The first topic is going to be smart contracts, and we're going to start with a little definition of what a smart contract is. Basically, smart contract is a self-executing contract with the terms of the agreement directly embedded in the line of the code. So the terms of the agreement between a buyer and a seller, they're written in the line of the code itself, and the code and the agreement contain and therein exist across a distributed decentralized blockchain network. Basically, the code controls the execution and the transactions are trackable and irreversible. Smart contract permit trusted transactions and agreements to be carried out among disparate anonymous parties without the need for central authority, legal system, or external enforcement mechanisms. To explain the definition of smart contracts, in other words, it can be said that smart contract is a computerized transaction protocol that executes the terms of a contract to satisfy common contractual rules or conditions. This word comes from conditions of the contract, basically refers to a clause or obligation that one or another party must abide with. So basically like rules written in the contract. In other situations, a condition of the contract alludes to an unforeseen future occurrence. So if it happens, it's going to have an impact on contract duties. So for example, let's say if one situation happens, then there's going to have another outcome. And if another situation happens, that's going to have a completely opposite outcome in the situation. So for example, let's say party A wins, meaning the money eventually in a smart contract will go to party A, and party B, as it has lost, won't get anything. The history of smart contracts. Smart contract, was first created by Nick Szabo, a computer scientist who is widely known in digital contracts such as smart contracts themselves and digital currency. The face and concepts of smart contracts was developed by Szabo with the goal to find basically a highly evolved practices of contract laws and practice to the design of electronic commerce between a buyer and a seller on the internet. In order to run a smart contract, you would need some sort of authority to make it run. As an example, I decided to take my OV chip card right here, and basically this card gives me authority to enable a smart contract. So by tapping this card at the machine in the tram, for example, I come in the tram, I tap it, my status switches from offline to online. Basically, also to enable a smart contract, you would always have to have input in the smart contract. So in this case, my OV chip card is the input, and me putting it on the machine in order for the mode to switch is the inputs itself. Now we're going to talk about Ethereum, as this cryptocurrency is basically set to work on with smart contracts. And I would say that first I would start with the definition of Ethereum, what it is, when it was created. Basically, Ethereum was first created in 2014 by Vitalik Buterin. Ethereum is the second largest open blockchain that has been running already for 5 years, and basically it is a smart contract platform that allows you to transact with each other without a trusted central authority like banks. Furthermore, Ethereum also lets you create decentralized software. If I'm not mistaken, they're also called dApps. Ethereum platform has thousands of peer-to-peer independent computers that are running, meaning it's completely decentralized, making it completely decentralized. Once a program is deployed in Ethereum network, these computers, also known as nodes, will make sure that it's valid and will make sure that it executes as written, basically. Now I'm gonna do a little comparison between Ethereum and Bitcoin. Basically, the first thing that is necessary to mention is that transaction process faster in Ethereum. It basically takes up to a couple of seconds for the transaction to process, whereas in Bitcoin it usually takes longer. Second of all, Ethereum has more flexibility than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is mostly focused on its security, basically. Then Ethereum is focused on structure and governance, and Bitcoin is mostly focused on sound money. Welcome to our second class. Our second class is going to be about ledgers and ledgernomics. To begin with, I would give a plain definition of what a ledger is. A ledger is a tool or an item that is used to record the transactions, and that's basically it. It's a really plain definition. A tool can be a tool as a ledger can be anything. What matters is that it has to have the record of the information, and it can be a book, it can be a laptop, it can be your phone. Anything can be a ledger, basically. Ledgers also can record multiple information, such as tangible assets, it could be, and intangible assets. So it can be tangible money, for example, or tangible apples, or it can be money in the bank also, or money in cryptocurrency. So transaction is anything basically that has value. It doesn't have to be specifically money or finance or anything like that. So the next topic is why are ledgers important. Basically, they're important not only because they record transactions, but also they confirm ownership and identity. So as an example, let's here take my OV again. This is my personal OV, meaning it's proof of ownership, because here you can see my picture, meaning that it only belongs to me, as well as the identity code. So if I lose this OV, I can always type this code and on the ovchipcard.nl, and I will see that my name is linked to it. So that means it belongs to me. So let me give you an example why ledgers are important, and why it is important basically to keep track of the amount of goods or exchange of value that you do. Let's imagine the situation that you're hanging out with your friends and they all have apples, or an apple, or it doesn't have apples at all. You're standing near them, you have your so-called ledger. Let's imagine it as a phone. So something like this, a phone, right? And a friend, for example, your best friend, whose name is K, is giving an apple to a friend named A. As you're witnessing it, you witness the transaction itself, you put it in your ledger, so you're writing it down, you recorded it. Meaning that transaction is officially in the ledger, and the transaction is basically was made. It is also important to know and essential to know that, for example, let's imagine a scenario that you met up with the same friends again, and let's say at this time they had iPhone, so each one of them bought an iPhone, and one friend that didn't have an iPhone, he decided to steal an iPhone from a friend, any friend, and now this friend that didn't have an iPhone back then has one now, and the friend that he stole it from doesn't have an iPhone. But if you look in your information at the ledger, this information was not recorded, so in this case in my phone, meaning the transaction is not official. And in this case, the friend who had his iPhone stolen can go to me, as I am the trusted entity in that case, and I will check for him that the transaction didn't process. So basically, this iPhone still belongs to the friend that had it, that doesn't have currently an iPhone. So he had his iPhone stolen from the other friend. So our next topic that we're going to talk about is the history of ledgers. Basically, the first ledger that was ever created, it was created around 7,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, currently known as Iraq. And the first ever ledger It was in the form of a clay tablet. People used it back then as a device to record their spendings, the trade of the goods, and also the amount of the goods they spent. And they also had, back then, the ledgers were really important for society, such as clay tablets. That's why they were well kept in like caves or temples where nobody could find them also. And I also read that clay tablets back then were considered uh, as banks, some sort of banks to the society that we have nowadays, and that's why they're really important. In this class, we're going to talk about what blockchain is and how does it work. Blockchain basically is a series of transactions that are grouped into blocks. All these blocks are linked to each other through encryption, which stores the data in a secure way that makes it really complicated to hack or erase data or change in any way, basically. And this chain of blocks then forms a transaction ledger, which can be public or either private. In a public blockchain, all the transactions are possible to be viewed publicly with the history of them provided, basically. This public ledger or public blockchain is hosted by many businesses worldwide, making it distributed, sometimes even decentralized. The main advantage of a public blockchain is that no entity owns it, as it is public. This distributed ledger then basically forms some sort of like an international peer-to-peer connection network that enables people to record transactions to the database. This way, it allows you to send digital value anywhere in the world almost instantly. For example, in Bitcoin, its blockchain records how much Bitcoin each person has on his or her wallet, and also creates history and how currency moves from wallet to wallet.